You've done everything you wanted to do. You found someone you love. You built a life together. You've tried to make it work, but something isn't working because here you are, unhappy, disconnected, or just quietly wondering if this is really as good as it gets. What if I told you there are four essential skills that you have to have in a relationship in order to keep it going strong long term? What I'll share with you today will explain why, even if you have the perfect person that you're in love with, if you're missing one of these four key pieces of a healthy relationship, you are going to have problems at some point. And of course, what those four things are. Most people spend their whole lives believing that a happy relationship is about finding the right person. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why that's only part of the story. I'm Karen with A Better Relationship Coaching. This is the final video in my series about being unhappy in your relationship. I'm going to link the full playlist below, and if you haven't watched the earlier videos, I really encourage you to go back and start there because everything we've covered builds to this one. Today, we're talking about the four pillars that every healthy relationship needs. And I can tell you this with confidence. If you are unhappy in your relationship right now, at least one of these is missing, possibly more than one. And by the end of this video, you're going to know which ones they are. Okay, what are these four skills? Emotion regulation, healthy boundaries, good communication, and self-care. All healthy relationships have these in place, and you need all four, not three, not three and a half, all four, because they are deeply interconnected. And when one is shaky or missing, the others will not hold either. But if I had to point to the one that sits at the foundation of all the others, it's emotion regulation. And here's why. Think about what happens when you have to try to have a difficult conversation with your partner. Either your nervous system immediately signals danger, not safe, back off, let's not do this, let's do it another time, or actually, let's never do this, and you retreat. Or your partner says something that hits a nerve, and suddenly you're not having a conversation and it turns into a fight. The original point gets completely lost. This is what happens without that emotion regulation. You can't communicate well if you can't first recognize what you're feeling, understand why you're feeling it, and bring yourself back to a regulated enough place to actually have a conversation where you're not trying to protect yourself and you're in a place where you can try to relate to your partner. And you cannot have healthy boundaries if you can't manage your emotions as you let someone know what they are or what to do if someone doesn't respect them. So everything starts with this, with being able to feel your feelings without being hijacked by them. The second one I like to talk about is healthy boundaries. And I actually differentiate between limits and boundaries, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. I want to clear something up because this word gets misunderstood quite a bit. Boundaries are not walls. They're not about creating distance in your relationship. They actually do the opposite. They create more genuine connection. And here's what I mean. Without healthy boundaries, you end up in one of two places. Either you're walled off, too boundaried, and then nothing gets in, nothing gets out. There's no real intimacy because it doesn't feel safe or comfortable at all. Or you have boundaries that are too porous. You let too much in and everything feels really big, even if it's not yours to hold. Every comment, every tone of voice, every bad day your partner is having becomes something you feel responsible for or like you have to be involved in or manage. And in that state, you end up losing yourself, which, as we talked about in an earlier video, is where so much of the disconnection in relationships really comes from. A healthy boundary gives you a safe middle ground, a small circle around yourself that says, you can come close, I want you to come close, and I can also take care of myself here. That's what allows real intimacy without losing yourself in it. And yes, emotion regulation is what makes it possible to stay in your space when your nervous system wants to maybe push you to one of those extremes right off the bat. You are able to create this area where you feel safe, even if that initial whoosh reaction in your body is trying to pull you in a different direction. The third one is good communication. And this is where a lot of people try to start, which is why it doesn't work all the way. You can learn every communication framework out there, but if you're not regulated first, if you're not able to know how you're feeling in those moments and how to manage your emotions as they come up, or even know I'm feeling too much, it's not a good time for me to have this conversation. Give me a minute so that I can get myself back together and really be able to focus on what we're saying. Then none of it's going to hold when things get hard. That said, once you have that regulation piece, communication becomes so much easier and much more possible. And it does matter how you express yourself. Whether you're coming at a situation from a me versus you or an us versus the problem place changes everything about how that conversation is going and how things are going to feel in 10 minutes or an hour. And fourth is self care. I'm talking about the consistent practice of giving something back to yourself, whether that's shamelessly watching that reality show that you love, going for a long walk in the mornings, having a weekend away with girlfriends, or just allowing yourself something that helps you really feel like you can relax and reconnect with yourself. I include this one specifically because I see how hard it is for women in particular to access it. There's always someone else's cup to fill first. And what happens when you run on empty for long enough is that resentment builds quietly towards your partner, your kids, everyone around you. And that resentment is one of the most corrosive things that can happen to a relationship. You cannot pour from an empty cup. This isn't a cliche, it's just true. And if you're feeling like it's not possible for you to do something for you, one of the other three is missing. And maybe after hearing more about each of them, you know which one it is that's missing for you. I want you to be honest with yourself for a moment. Which of these four skills or pillars or whatever we want to call them feels the most out of reach to you right now? Emotion regulation, boundaries, communication, or self care? Drop it in the comments. There's no wrong answer, and you might be surprised at how much company you have. I know for me, there was a time when I felt like I didn't have access to any of these. So, what does this mean for your relationship right now? Here's what I want you to take away from this. These four skills aren't just abstract concepts. They are the through line of everything we have talked about in this series. The emotion regulation, boundaries, communication, and self care are all interconnected. And here's the thing I really want you to hear. These are not set in stone. What you're working with now is not a personality trait that's not able to be moved or changed. This isn't something that you were either born with or born without. They're skills, and they can be learned, developed, and strengthened at any point in your life, whether you're 32 or 72, staying in your relationship or leaving it, whether things are in crisis or just quietly not working. I don't want to make it seem like these are a checklist, though, or in any way easy to fix. It takes being open to learning something new and then going through the process, putting in the time, energy, and practice that it takes. It can be a lot of work. Remember, you've had a lifetime of doing it this way, so it doesn't change overnight, but it is so worth it. And even doing these things poorly, but with effort to do them better, is way better than just sticking with the same thing that you're doing now that you know doesn't work. If this video or any of the others in this series has helped you to see things differently or given you the feeling of being more understood, please subscribe. There is so much more to come, and I don't want you to miss any of it. So, is a happy relationship about finding the right person? Partly. A relationship with the right person with the wrong foundation is still going to struggle. But the right foundation, that changes everything, regardless of what you decide about your relationship. Now, knowing these four skills is one thing, but knowing which ones are missing in your relationship and knowing where to start, that's where people can get stuck. And that's exactly what I want to be able to help you with. I'm going to put the information in the notes below. I would love you to check it out. Hey, if this was helpful for you at all, please don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone else who needs to hear it. It really helps other people be able to find these videos.